Hi folks, I'm back for another movie review tonight. That's the way I kind of like start all my current or my new webcast. Before I start that, I want to dedicate this to Kara C. As always, Kara, this is for you, always for you. Anyway, you know, God, I look good. You know, a lot of people have been asking me, "Hey, is this a real suit? Is this just a hood or if this is the top?" No, folks, this is actually a full body suit. Of course, I have to wear this because I'm Spidey and I look really good. See, it goes all the way down from the tip of my toes all the way to the top of my head because I am the Mega Beast. Anyway, anyway, we're gonna be as you can see, we got Leatherhead in the background. You know, he came out from the basement and he's pissed off because I took his chainsaw, and that's just tough shit because this is my webcast and I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it, right? Of course, the studio's looking good. We got some new improvements coming. You're going to be very surprised and shocked at what we have coming, folks, in the next couple of weeks. We got some really cool stuff. You know, this is, I kind of like to really have a lot of fun on these YouTube webcasts. You know, I like to joke around and stuff, and dedicate certain videos to certain people and stuff like that. It's all good fun, and I hope they enjoy it because I truly mean that kind of stuff. You know, I do care about a lot of people and things. So anyway, I went back through our archives, right? And I found out that we did not review Return of the Living Dead Part 1 or Part 2. I had done Return of the Living Dead Part 3 with Melinda Clark. And then I just recently, after that, I did Return of the Living Dead Part 4 in Necropolis, which was slight downhill, from the third movie. But anyway, we're going to go back and talk about the second movie tonight. Now, here it is, Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Now, I recently seen some ratings on this movie, and most people only seem to give this about like 5.8 out of 10 stars, and I totally disagree with that rating completely, folks. Completely. This movie deserves better than that, and it's going to get a better review from me tonight and a better rating. To all those people who hate this movie, tough shit. This is a great movie. Lighten up, have some fun. It's not quite as good as the very first one with Clu Gallagher, James Cairn, and Thom Mathews and Leanna Quigley and stuff like that. But it does hold up very well on its own, plain and simple. This is like the very first movie came out in 1985 with all those stars I just mentioned, and this one came out in 1988, 3 years later. But in this movie actually had James Cairn and Thom Mathews reprising their roles. Of course, the two idiots from the first movie. They got infected, and they were. This is a great movie. I love the number. I love Return of Living Dead Part 1. It's a classic. It's a mega class. It's a 10 in my books. Anyway, so they reprise their roles in this particular movie, and they're basically grave robbers. Actually, James Cairn is the grave robber, and Thom Mathews is his apprentice. And so they're basically, well, James Cairn is basically just robbing mausoleums, breaking into crypts and stuff like that, and stealing people's jewelries and chopping people's heads off, and because he sells all these body parts and to all these medical facilities and stuff. He's a complete total scumbag, man. But he does these roles. He does these two roles so well. He's great at comedic roles, and he's funny, and just his facial expressions are just worth watching, plain and simple. And of course, Thom Mathews plays as assistant again, and he's basically, they both pick up the roles 3 years later perfectly. The movie is kind of similar to the first one, but it's not really a sequel. It's more like just like a revised version of the very first movie, just updated with new locations and stuff like that. And all the cast members are gone. Thom Mathews and James Cairn are the only two that return for this movie. And of course, it basically picks up in a construction site. They're building houses, a new neighborhood and stuff like that. Houses are halfway built and stuff like that. And, they're basically, and of course there's a cemetery really close by. That's where James Cairn and, of course, and Thom Mathews are inside the mausoleum, stealing people's belongings, breaking into their coffins and stuff. It's disgusting completely. And, but yeah, anyway, what happens is that So there's the bratty kids in the neighborhood. You know, there's one kid who's I can't think of his name. I can't, what is his name? It's Thor or something. He's like really he plays the really tall kid in here. He's probably only about 14 years old, and he has his little buddy with him. And of course they basically recruit this new kid that just moved in the neighborhood, you know, for some kind of a, you know, his initiation fee was a comic book and stuff like that. So, and of course, the clubhouse is a mausoleum where James Cairn and Thom Mathews are just happen to be working, you know, stealing people's belongings, you know, out of their coffins and their fingers, their jewelry and crap like that, and their, you know, anything they can sell and make some money. There's one part where James Cairn chops out this lady's he tells Thom, he throws it in Thom Mathews' bag, you know. It's just like, oh my God, you know, it's just disgusting. She's all moldy. She's been dead for like 30, 40 years or whatever, you know. And so anyway, the kid, so they're actually, the kid is already, he's already been at the mausoleum. He's in the mausoleum. Of course, James Cairn and Thom Mathews chase him out of there, you know, and stuff like that. And of course, they go to work on their little disgusting job, you know. And of course, and then the you know, the bully kid and stuff like that, they recruit the young kid that got chased out of the mausoleum, and basically they want to use that mausoleum as their clubhouse. Of course, you know, the little kid doesn't want to be part of the thing, so he basically runs away from the two bully kids. You know, he runs into this drain sewer, and it just happens to be a barrel of a zombie barrel, basically 245 trioxin. You know, one of the zombies packed away in one of these, you know, like oil drum type things, you know. So, of course, the two bully kids basically get the smart idea of trying to open it because they, you know, they wipe off the top of it. It's got, you know, a glass top, and they see there's a zombie, and of course, you know, stupid as they may be, they basically start putts away with the goddamn you know, the controls on it, and of course all the you know, the fog and everything and smoke and the 2,4-trioxin comes spraying out all over the place. It's like a mist and stuff like that, and they get infected, you know, they breathe it in, and of course they end up turning into zombies later on. And so you know, this movie I think just works on all kinds of different levels, folks. You know, if you like, well, it's not to be taken seriously. It's basically just comedy. You know, zombies who talk and are stupid. They only want to eat your brains. You know, there's great. Everybody in the there's a Phillip Bruns is in this movie too. He basically plays this doctor in the new neighborhood. He's good. You'll recognize him instantly. He's been in tons of movies. I wonder if he's even. I wonder if he's still around. I should look up his database, his internet database file, and find out. He's a good actor. Anyway, those are the only three people who are very recognizable, you know, stuff like that. Those three particular people in the movie. And so what happens, of course, uh, the runoff from the barrel that sprays the kids in the face, it basically goes up into the atmosphere again. Of course, it starts to rain, and there's a cemetery real close by. Of course, that's where James Cairn and Thom Mathews are working. And of course, it seeps into the ground, you know. The rain is pushing the fog and crap into the ground. Of course, the zombies all come back to life. I mean, the dead people all come back to life again, you know. And they're just as stupid as they are in the first movie, you know. And I do like this movie a lot. You know, if it's a lighthearted movie, it's just, you know, you can't take it seriously. You know, of course, there's a lot of really great scenes in this movie. There's scenes where, of course, Thom and James Cairn are getting sicker and sicker. Is the whole thing. What happens is they're all the people that actually live in this new housing project in the neighborhood are basically being chased around by the zombies or the dead people who have come out of the ground at the local cemetery. You know, because they want to eat everybody's brains. You know, that's a new neighborhood, so they got to eat their brains. You know, eat their brains, man. This sounds so stupid, doesn't it? But it works. That's why I like these movies. So, you know, there's all kinds. There's a cable repair kid involved, and the little kid's sister and stuff like that. And, you know, they're basically, the whole town has been quarantined and been cordoned off by the military because they know something's going on because the little kid tried to call the military. Said one of the drums is in the neighborhood, and it's been open, and it's exposed the whole neighborhood and surrounding areas, and some little dusty little town in, you know, whatever little state it is, it doesn't make any difference. You know, I can't remember exactly what state it is, but yeah, of course, there's all kinds of stupid stuff going on. You know, they're trying to run from all these dead people in the neighborhood. You know, loading up on ammo and stuff. All the surviving members who have been trapped inside the quarantined area. And there's great scenes in this movie. There, of course, the oh my God. I shouldn't even tell you about some of these movies, man. The little zombie, the little head that James Cairn stuck in Mathews' bag, maybe 20 minutes into the movie. The movie doesn't run, it actually comes back to life. Of course, they're barricaded in the house with the kid and the cable repair kid and his new girlfriend and stuff, and James Cairn and, Thom Mathews and his girlfriend and stuff. And of course, the head comes back to life. It's in the duffel bag, like and it's talking, and stuff like that. It's you got to see these movies, folks. If you've never seen Return of the Living Dead Part 1 and Part 2, you should really check them out. They're not really overly gory, except the special effects and the makeup on the zombies is pretty disgusting. Like a lady's got all these worms wiggling out of her face and stuff like that. It's got some really cool stuff. You just look at these scenes and you just basically laugh and you just go, my God, this must have been a blast to make. Number 1 and number 2. Because I would love to have been in these movies. I think these movies are classics on their own right. I mean, on their own merits and everything like that. The first one I would probably rate a 10. Return of the Living Dead Part 1, 10. And the second one, I'm not sure I can go quite as high, but I like this movie a lot. It's only about an hour and 29 minutes long. I think it might even be a little bit shorter than the very first one that came out in 1985. And of course, that had Leanna Quigley and Thom Mathews and James Cairn and, and some other well-known B actors that you would recognize instantly. And, of course, we got the Tar Man again, number 2. Of course, the kid goes back there to find out. He gets the phone number off the barrel because he's going to call the military because he thinks that there's something going on with this barrel. It's really bad. And, of course, he's right. And, of course, the Tar Man is back in this movie. He was in the very first movie, too. A disgusting, slimy. That's the thing that came out of that particular barrel inside that drain sewer. I think it's the same actor that actually did the first role as the Tar Man in the very first movie, too. I think he reprised his role in this movie. I can't think of his name right offhand. Let's see, what else can we talk about this movie? Yeah, there's the back cover. I'm not sure you can really see. There's like a tombstone, the mausoleum. That might actually be the mausoleum that James Cairn and Thom Mathews are working, retrieving the dead's belongings and stuff like that. So, of course, they're all trying to get out of the town. Of course, the military won't let them. Of course, 2 of them are infected and stuff, and they get sicker and sicker as the movie's going along, and they're starting to think about eating brains. They're getting closer to death. And, of course, the doctor, Phillip Bruns, does, he does a medical exam on both of them. They're barricaded, like, in the hospital inside the city, or some kind of a medical center. And, of course, Thom Mathews and James Cairn, they don't have a pulse or nothing. Their tongues are like green on the top, and you can see that they're just, the makeup is kind of cool. They're just like white as a ghost. They're bloodshot around the eyes, and they're just dripping green slime out of their mouth, but they're still alive and they're still conscious, and they basically, but they're actually dead. And Phillip Bruns kind of tells the other people in the room that, basically in the medical center, they're dead. I think we should zip them up and bag them. That's what he says, to one of the girlfriend of one of the kids, Thom Mathews, his girlfriend. And of course, she doesn't want to do that because she's, she loves him and she still thinks he's alive. But of course, he is actually dead already. He just hasn't transformed into a brain munching zombie yet. Same with James Cairn. They eventually do, maybe about 10 minutes later down the road, when they finally, their heart finally, or whatever, they finally kick off. Of course, they come back as, as brain munching zombies. But they're actually funny as hell. And they're chasing all the other people around, and, oh God, this movie is so stupid. Oh my God. It's folks, I'm not going to sit and tell you about any other particular scenes in this movie because I had somebody else ask me, don't give away so many scenes, and I'm not going to. I can just tell you one thing. There's a ton of great scenes in here, a lot of comedic lines. The acting is really good, on all the part of all the actors and stuff like that. It's actually kind of a believable movie, but it's played for laughs, completely played for laughs, as is the first Return of the Living Dead Part 1. Well, there's the cover again. There's the front cover, of course. It doesn't really tell you much. There's the city. I don't know. It's just the graveyard and stuff like that. Doesn't tell you much. I'm just showing you what I think you might want to look at. But anyway, I'm gonna rate this movie anyway, and I'm gonna continue with my review. Now, like as I talked about part 3 a couple nights ago with Melinda Clark. Now, I don't understand why the people who that made number 1 and number 2 didn't continue, and number 3 didn't continue on with the comedic theme of these movies. Number 4, Necropolis, was basically set in Russia, and it was kind of a boring, just a bore fest. I mean, it had a couple good parts in it, but it sucked. And of course, then Rave to the Grave came out. Now I'm not sure how many years later. Of course, that sucked. It's funny. It's supposed to be funny, but it doesn't come nearly as close to the very first 2 movies. I know Dan O'Bannon directed the very first Return of the Living Dead, 1985. I don't think he came back and directed this one, but whoever directed, I got to find out who directed this. Maybe it was Dan O'Bannon. He did a pretty good job. I think he got the general idea of the first movie, and he kind of continued with the second movie in the same theme, the same goofiness and stuff like that. And I think they should have just continued with number 3. I mean, a third sequel, like a sequel to this first one and this one right here, or maybe go back to the original basis of the series and go back to the funny parts, the comedy aspects of this particular series. Forget about number 4. Forget about number 5. Don't waste your time in those unless you're a hardcore zombie brain munching zombie fan or whatever. Just forget about those movies. Just forget about those movies. The only first 3 you want to concentrate is the first movie, the second movie, which we're talking about tonight, and of course the third one, Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Of course, that one basically is more hardcore and serious. It's a love story between Belinda Clark and Trevor, her boyfriend, which ends tragically at the very end. And it's actually tragic through the whole movie because he's stupid. He brings her back, and of course it has tragic results, and of course they have to end up killing both of them. They kill themselves at the end because they can't live as zombies. He's been bitten anyway in that third movie, so he's going to turn too, along with Melinda, who's already messed up with all the needles and the piercings. You know what I'm talking about. And so, but anyway, I would love to see them go back and maybe somebody reboot this series. I know they can't really bring back, well, they could bring back the original stars from number 1 and 2, but, of course they're going to be 30 years older, and stuff like that. They don't look exactly the same anymore. But, I think they need to go back to the original idea of these movies. I don't know who has control of number 4, number 5 in this movies. Maybe it's an Eastern European producer director. I'm not sure, but they need to go back to this particular, like 1, 2, and 3. That's my opinion, plain and simple. 1 and 2 in particular. 3 is more of a tragic love story. So we're gonna rate this movie. Like I said, I rated number 1 a 10 because it's a mega classic from 1985. And we're going to rate this one tonight, and I'm going to rate this one. I don't care if people like it or hate it. That's what I think. I think if you like number 1, you'll love this movie. You may not like this movie quite as much as the first one in 85, but this one does come very, very close to that movie. The performances are fun, and everything seems to work for me. I've watched this movie a ton of times, just as much as I've watched Return of the Living Dead Part 1 as many times. These 2 movies always find their way into my DVD player, just because they're great late night viewing, and they're just fun. So, I am going to rate this movie. Oh, can I give it a 10? I don't know if I can give it a 10. I'm going to give it a 9 because it doesn't quite live up to the very first movie. Very close, but it falls a little bit short of the very first movie. But still, a 9, a 10 for the very first one, and a 9 for this one, because I think this movie deserves more credit than it's ever gotten. So that is my review for tonight. And like I said, I'm not going to give all these scenes away. You're just going to have to watch a movie and get some chuckles yourself. You're just going to be Mr. McChuckles and Mr. and Mrs. McChuckles, or whatever. I'm just being stupid here. Anyway, So that's my review tonight, and I will be back with my review of the very first one, Return of the Living Dead Part 1. And that's the 10 rating. Okay, we will see you later. You guys take care and behave yourselves. You better. I'm watching.